you start babbling like a crazy person trying to describe it, just like me. Scientifically, the concept of religion doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that they're incompatible.
No, they're not. Einstein believed in, I think he believed in some weird sort of religion. And what though?
Hey, but Nate, science and religion can coexist. Religion can be supported by science. I actually fundamentally 100% disagree with that. All right, let's you and me take a step back to middle school, okay? Let's review the scientific method. You make an observation, develop a hypothesis, develop an experiment, conduct said experiment, gather evidence, analyze evidence, repeat the experiment, publish results for peers to observe and recreate. It's tried, it's true, and it's the basis of all factual knowledge that we have about the world. Scientists do not come to conclusions and pick around evidence to support themselves. They keep an open mind and change assertions with evidence. That is not how religious science works. What I find unfortunate is that a lot of religious scientists and groups start off with a conclusion, and that conclusion is God is real. Then they...
Atheism does the same without a god. So anything this is an argument for Gnosticism.
their way backwards through the method trying to get together proof. That is not how science is practiced. That's mainly because we've never found evidence strictly pointing to there being a conscious God.
And someone's bound to bring up the Hitchens way, so that if something doesn't have proof, you can't prove something that it's fake, but that'll come in later and we'll see why it doesn't work.
Okay, but Nate, how about the things that we can't explain? You know, I saw this one video on Facebook that said that there's like a 1 in 1 quadrillion billion chance for life to happen. So who's the one who needs to depend on faith now, huh? Well, I do hear what you're saying, and unfortunately that's kind of a logical fallacy. That's called the God of the Gaps fallacy.
Okay, so this is where the Hitchens wager comes in. So it's Hitchens wager was named after Occam's razor, and Occam's razor says the more likely something is than it is true. And what's more likely, that we just don't know something after we know the Big Bang, which we probably had no other way of knowing? Oh, that God is real. Even, like I said before, I think I said this before, but even Voltaire, who was very anti-Christian, said that there has to be a God, and anyone who thinks otherwise is not sane. Of course, I disagree with Voltaire on that, but I agree that there has to be a God.
We don't know something, therefore God. That's not logical at all. We can put anything in its place. Instead of saying God, we can have a flying spaghetti monster, or a space dolphin, or Steve Jobs' ghost. Not having an answer doesn't imply another answer. Plus, having an answer doesn't make you right in the first place. So Nate, can we twist this around on you and say that science isn't always right and it can make mistakes too? Oh dude, absolutely. Scientists are wrong all the time. But the cool thing is, science adapts with new information.
That's not true. Science always is the same. We just don't know what's true about it or not.
If something doesn't fit into the ground natural puzzle scheme, the entire thing is uprooted and redone. That's a possibility that virtually no religions have, and that's why I trust science a lot more than religion. Man, Nate, it sounds like you really hate religion. Well, actually I don't. I think it's a wonderful thing that should be celebrated and fostered in many people. Wait. What? Well, something happened to me on August 8th, 2016.
Okay, so I watched a video before and talked about how he became an atheist at age 14 in 2014, was an atheist for 2 years, and on August 8th, he pretty much became a moderate atheist. Old atheist, what I'm going to call it, because new atheism is anti-religion, old atheism doesn't really give a heck about what you believe. I'm saying that Nate's more of an old atheist in that case, and talk about how religion can be good. And I agree. So can atheism. I mean, the Bible, there are plenty of Christian pastors who I just can't stand. Like, one I can confidently call out is Benny Hinn and Kenneth Copeland. Just don't even look up Kenneth Copeland. He has to do Plantis, claims to talk to God, and that God asks him for his advice. There are some awful preachers out there.
Please, from worries and concern.
Nihilism is an inherently destructive idea, although some people can use it in a relatively peaceful way, which I assume is how Nate uses it. It's also very broad, I think.
Became my new religion, in which I was free to do anything I please, and since I'm not going to exist in the near future, like, who cares anyway? Number 2.
That's the reason nihilism is somewhat destructive. It says you can do anything you want, which kind of fits in as a rape, but although Nate, I'm sure wouldn't do that. I'm 100% sure. I'm sure there was a car that Nate wouldn't do that.
What I experienced was unimaginable trauma. Nobody else should go through it, and that's probably why people turn to religion. I understand why people are religious. There is an existential need for purpose and reassurance, as well as community and enlightenment.
Nate's question was wondering what happened after you die and how that you just go into oblivion. That's his belief, at least.
Does all of those things for billions of people around the world who can't find it in concepts like nothingness for me. And that is totally okay. That does not make them dumb. That does not make me smarter than anybody else. It can be argued that I am just as delusional for disregarding my own mortality and submitting to the void of nothingness as someone who could be worshiping a god. We all have...
Agree. Imagine saying I might be just as stupid as Nate is. Nate's not stupid. I could just be as stupid as like Dawkins for believing in a god, even though I believe he is real.
This cosmic need for something, and if we don't get it, we crack under our own weight like I did when I was 16. I support and I encourage your right to practice religion because...
Like I said before, Nate has a special place in my heart. I really respect the guy. He's a really great man, and I just really like him.
Honest to God, I wish that I could believe in one too. Unfortunately, I can't, and there's not a whole lot that anyone can do to convince me otherwise without having, like, raw evidence in their hands. And trust me, that makes me really sad. Since I've outgrown all these old atheist YouTube channels, since I don't really get mega positive vibes from them, and their political views kind of drive me up walls
Yeah, most atheists went after politically correctness because kind of many conservative atheists use the argument that being woke is a religion. I'm not going to dive into that today, but just know that some think of that.
But that doesn't mean that I don't owe a lot to them for providing me with a very simple basis for my understanding of myself and the universe around me. As long as you keep your religion out of politics and don't force it upon children who...
No, I think Spotlight's a better Western documentary, in my opinion. And yeah, religion doesn't belong in politics. That's why I hate people saying, God bless the USA. That's not right. The USA is something I don't agree with. I don't want something that I think is impure and wrong to be blended with my holy religion.
Old enough to think for themselves, I am in full favor of religion, and I think it's an excellent personal tool for many people to find comfort and meaning in, and that's awesome. Really, I could talk about this for hours, but I think this is an appropriate time to come to a conclusion. Just feel free to pick up where I left off in the comments. It's going to be brutal and bloody down there. Please be warned. Religious or not, as long as you find purpose and be a good noodle, I am in full favor of whatever you want to believe. You're welcome on my YouTube channel, regardless of whatever religion you're a part of. If you feel the need, go for it. You can pray for me.
I have prayed for Nate several times. Overall, Nate's just a really nice man. He's probably handled this better than any other atheist I've ever known. Don't get me wrong, I think he does attack some of his things. The kind of thing, he still does have some stigma towards religion, but when you compare that to someone like Richard Dawkins, even the more moderate ones like Owen Morgan, or Dark Matter 2525, he's like a normal freaking person. And he is a normal person. Not just a robot who exists solely to say atheism. He's a person. And that's why I like him. Because he is an entity. And he's not just an entity, he has a mind that doesn't just focus on atheism. And I know I'm this a million times, but Nate's just a great man, and you should really subscribe to him. I followed him on Twitter, and this is all for today. Thank you, and send to Annie. May you live for 100 years.